On Thursday, Florida Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried stumped for Democratic gubernatorial candidate Charlie Crist. Fried is Florida's top-ranked statewide Democratic officeholder and ran against Crist in the Democratic primary, losing by double digits. Fried urged voters to embrace Crist and explicitly called for the end of DeSantis' political career in order to prevent a possible presidency. DeSantis is currently leading Crist by double digits and has a historically large campaign war chest. He is considered a possible 2024 Republican presidential contender and has recently outpolled Vice President Kamala Harris in a matchup.
Good evening, Duval! And want to append thank you to our brothers and sisters for opening up the Union Hall. You know, I remember 2 years ago, I was standing on a pickup truck right here doing a campaign rally, and everybody said to me, Commissioner, you're okay walking on that with your heels? I was like, I'm the Commissioner of Agriculture. I know how to get on the back of the pickup truck. So it is truly a great partnership between the union and this community, and it is my honor to be here with you all today. But we've got 2 weeks. We've got only 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks to deliver champions who will fight for Florida. 2 weeks to have champions who are going to stand up for women's rights to choose. 2 weeks to build an economy that working families can afford here in the state of Florida. And 2 weeks to make Ron DeSantis a one-term governor. And 2 weeks to make him a zero-term president of the United States. But before we get there, we've got to turn out our vote. That is why we've got a chairman who is here, who is starting the bus tour right here in Duval, right here in Florida, because we know the road to democracy, the road to the White House runs directly through Florida. So that's why we start here. And so I want to thank you, Chairman, for being here today and recognizing how important Florida is and how important Duval County is. We flipped Duval in 2018. We flipped Duval in 2020. And now we're going to keep Duval in 2022. You know, the DNC has committed at least $70 million to investments in states for 2022 midterm elections. That includes millions to the 57 states and territories supporting long-term party building, and especially here in the state of Florida. They have doubled their investment than they did in 2018. And Chairman, I cannot thank you enough for that. This is truly building a relationship and a party. And together we will take on special interests. Together we will lower the cost of living and protect the freedoms to make our own choices when it comes to healthcare. Now, you all have probably heard me say this a lot in the last 4 years. My mom is a diehard Democrat, was a teacher for 25 plus years. My dad is a diehard Republican. It's okay, we do a lot of praying for him. We do a lot of praying for him. So I know what it's like to be debating a Republican on a pretty consistent basis. And that is exactly what I have been doing for the last 4 years, taking it to Ron DeSantis every single day and being your champion up in Tallahassee. But there is no debating what is on this ballot in 19 days. Ron DeSantis is the most extreme elected official in the entire country. He is the most threatening to our democracy. Now, the other guy that lives a little bit further south of here, he is the greatest threat to our national security, but DeSantis is our greatest threat to our democracy. He's already taken away our Black congressional districts from right here. So you know what we are up against. He has done everything in his power to disenfranchise our voters, limit freedom of speech, and he has been plotting a radical abortion ban. And he has been doing nothing to lift up our families. But if you happen to be a Venezuelan who happens to be leaving for political asylum, he's got a first-class ticket to Martha's Vineyard. This is all the opposite of what democracy is. of what democracy looks like, of what freedom looks like. This guy likes to talk a lot about freedom. But what I have been seeing from his administration for the last 4 years is the exact opposite of freedom. And so we've got to be able to fight. Because something else I've said on a pretty normal basis. Our system isn't broken. Our system is working exactly how they have designed it to work. That is on Ron DeSantis. That is on Marco Rubio. But it is on us to show up at the polls and vote them off out of office. Because we've got two things that we have to talk about. The first thing is freedom. It's a word that this guy who went to Harvard and Yale just doesn't seem to understand what the word freedom actually means. To him, freedom means the freedom to get on to Fox News and to talk to Fox News and to their people. That's the freedom that he thinks. But if you don't look like him, don't sound like him, don't think like him, your freedoms are on the chopping block. And he's not just coming to control women. He's taking Black representation in Congress. It's freedom out of our classrooms, out of our teachers. He's taking away our history. It's suffocating. But we've got the power to stop this. That nothing is over until every ballot is counted. And I can tell you from back in 2018, we fought hard to make sure that every ballot was counted. As somebody who won by 6,753 votes out of 8.2 million cast, Duval showed up for me, and I know Duval's going to show up for this ticket. Second issue that we got to be talking to the voters about is affordability. We can't live here anymore. Where is that single mom who's already working 2 jobs? Where is she living? Where is our union brothers and sisters living? They're having to work 2 or 3 jobs just to barely make ends meet. The last time I was here in Duval, I went to a senior community center, and a woman came up to me who happened to have been 80 years old, and she's living in Section 8 housing, and she says, Nikki, my rent just got increased by $700. What am I going to do? She's 80. But this is what's happening here in the state of Florida. This is what's happening under Ron DeSantis. For even Rick Scott to call you out on affordability, you know that he's got to be doing something wrong. That's what we got here. That literally everything in the state of Florida is more expensive. Our rent's more expensive. Our taxes are more expensive. Our gas is more expensive. Our housing is more expensive. That's not a DC problem. That is a Ron DeSantis problem. And that is what is here in the state of Florida. And don't let anybody else out there tell you otherwise. This is on Ron DeSantis. Not Joe Biden, but Ron DeSantis. So we know we've got committed candidates up and down the ballot. You saw Adam Hattersley, who's in the crowd, who's running to be your next CFO. You got Ayala Aramis, who's running to be your next Attorney General. You've got Naomi Blumers running to be your next Commissioner of Agriculture. And we know that Val Demings is committed to this cause and committed to flip our state. We know that Charlie Crist is committed to the people of this state. We know that we've got candidates up and down our ballots that we've got to come out and we've got to support. And we've got to show that commitment to every single mom who can't afford rent. That commitment to that Black entrepreneur competing in a rigged system. Committed to our teachers who just want to teach. Committed to our LGBTQ plus communities who just want to be themselves. And committed to anyone who escaped tyranny looking for real freedom. Commitment to that teenager who's lost control of her own body. Committed to everybody that Ron DeSantis has spent the last 4 years trying to silence. This is our chance to show our voice at that ballot box, because this is what Democrats do. We show up, we fight, and we make sure that we are fighting for everybody. And that is a promise that we as Democrats continue to uphold. Early voting starts here in Duval on October 24th and goes to November 6th from 7 to 7. Don't wait. Show up early. Bring people to the polls. and go vote. This is what a united front looks like.
Right.
This is how we're going to flip our state. Right. This is how we're going to restore democracy here in the state of Florida. Right. And this is how we are going to win elections. Now, it has been my absolute honor and my privilege to represent you in that Florida cabinet for the last 4 years. And I know what it looks like to fight. And we've got some true champions that are running for office up and down this ballot. And you know what we don't do? We don't back down. So thank you, Duval, and let's go do this.
Thank you, Nikki.